වීඩියෝ ඇමතුම්ද සමග මැසෙන්ජර් සේවාවන් රැසකට සහ POTV Go සඳහා නොමිලේ ඩේටා ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජි රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, abusing freedom. Curfew lifted in 21 districts with fewer people seen on the roads and fewer seen adhering to safety protocols. Helping hand. Central Bank cuts maximum interest rate for gold advances to help low-income groups tide over the COVID-19 crisis. Bad news for banks. Moody's rating says that Sri Lanka's banking system will be under pressure from weakening coronavirus-hit businesses. Crucial times. Sri Lanka spikes past 600 COVID-19 cases as daily testing increased to full capacity. All this and much more coming up on this Tuesday, the 28th of April 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
හැටනමයයි 97ට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando in your top stories for tonight. With the detection of fresh cases of COVID-19 today, the number of infected people in the country soared to 611 today. On a positive note, 8 more people have been given the green light to head home, increasing the number of recoveries to 134. Meanwhile, the island conducted a record 1,400 PCR tests yesterday to identify infected patients while announcing plans to increase the number of daily PCR tests to 2,000.
In the first week following the detection of the country's first COVID-19 patient, 42 infected patients were identified. In the second week, 59 infections were detected, and in the third week, 41 cases were reported. In the fourth week, the number of new infections was 42, and in the fifth week, 48 people were diagnosed. In the sixth week, 77 new cases of infections were identified. However, the number of cases in the country spiked to 278 new infections detected by yesterday, the sixth day of the seventh week. The island's highest single-day tally was recorded yesterday with the detection of 65 cases, and all of them were identified through field observations. Among the 65 patients identified yesterday, 36 are naval personnel from the Valisara Naval Base. The recent surge in COVID-19 cases was due to the Navy personnel being exposed to the disease during operations conducted to round up infected patients in the Suduvella area of Jayala. A total of 108 sailors from the Valisara Navy base have been infected so far. Since the detection of the first infected sailor on the 22nd of April till 12:30 p.m. today, 277 newly diagnosed COVID-19 infections were found, and among them were 208 members of the Navy. In addition, 69 cases of infections were detected within quarantine centres as well as during community tests in the same time period. Meanwhile, Colombo continues to top the districts with most number of coronavirus cases, with the detection of 155 patients so far. The COVID-19 high-risk zones of KALUTARA, GAMPAHA and PUTTALAM have reported 63, 47 and 41 patients respectively. To date, Kurunegala has reported 18 cases of COVID-19. Barring the districts of Nuwara, Kilinochchi, Mana and Mullaitivu, coronavirus cases have been reported from all other districts. Meanwhile, an arrival from overseas residing in Dabari Mawathanara Hempita is currently receiving treatment at the Infectious Diseases Hospital after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Steps were taken to isolate Dabari Mawatha after PCR tests confirmed that the mother of the infected and a 4-year-old child in the neighbourhood had also contracted the virus. Accordingly, biological samples of 34 persons exposed to the virus were obtained this morning, and 29 individuals from 8 families were directed to quarantine centres. In the meantime, an individual residing at Torrington Avenue was diagnosed with COVID-19 after being exposed to an infected patient from the Keselvat area in Colombo. Accordingly, 31 persons belonging to 12 families living in the area were directed to quarantine facilities, while 37 persons exposed to the patient were subjected to PCR tests today. With the detection of fresh cases today, the total number of cases in Sri Lanka increased to 611,
out of which are 470 active cases.
8 people headed home today after complete recoveries, bringing the total number of recoveries in the country to 134. According to the epidemiology unit, 317 patients are under medical observation. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health announced plans to increase the number of PCR tests in the country conducted on a daily basis to 2,000. Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasingha says that a record number of 1,400 PCR tests were carried out yesterday to detect COVID-19 infected persons. As a result of the repatriation program to bring back in Sri Lankan expatriates who have been unable to return to the island due to the close down of airports and travel restrictions, Sri Lankan students and members of security forces in Bangladesh were airlifted last night. The 73-member group arrived in Sri Lanka on a charter flight operated by Sri Lankan Airlines. After being disinfected at the airport premises, the Sri Lanka Army took them to the Punani and Vaikale quarantine facilities. Meanwhile, 124 Sri Lankans stranded in Bangalore due to the spread of COVID-19 in India were brought back to the country via a Sri Lankan Airlines charter flight.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Bringing an update on the Sri Lankan community in the UK, the 5th country to surpass the 20,000 fatality mark. Our correspondent in London says that so far around 900 Sri Lankans have now registered for assistance with the Foreign Ministry's Contact Sri Lanka portal. The Sri Lankan High Commission in the UK has also introduced a hotline dedicated to assisting Sri Lankans on visa-related issues.
Coronavirus is spreading in the UK and the government is seeking ways to minimize its spread. Without drastic measures which may have to be in place for weeks or even months, it is feared that more than 250,000 people could die. With the UK ramping up its screening efforts, shops and stadiums in London played host to drive-through coronavirus test centres yesterday. Since a lockdown came into effect on March 23rd, the UK government has faced criticism from opposition parties for having limited testing capabilities. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson returned to work yesterday after recovering from COVID-19 with a warning that it was still too dangerous to relax a stringent lockdown, hammering Britain's economy for fear of a deadly second outbreak. Keeping a constant check on the well-being of Sri Lankans living in the hardest-hit countries, First at 9 brings you an update on Sri Lankan expats in the United Kingdom.
The lockdown in the UK was introduced by Prime Minister Boris Johnson on the 23rd of March. Now, the country is in the 5th week of lockdown. The current lockdown will go until the 7th of May. But right now, there's a lot of pressure coming from various segments of the society to ease the lockdown. But Prime Minister Johnson has not indicated any change on the current advice. UK became the 5th country to pass the milestone of 20,000 deaths in the hospitals. This is not including the deaths at various care homes and other facilities. So the actual number could be few thousands more than the 20,000 figure. Although Heathrow Terminal 3 and 4 are closed until further notice, still we have over 13,000 arrivals to this country every single day without any checks. There are also reports that Sri Lankans who are affected with COVID-19 are now under treatment at various locations. In terms of Sri Lanka High Commission in the UK, we believe that around 900 people have registered for assistance under the Contact Sri Lanka portal introduced by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also the dedicated Sri Lanka High Commission website. High Commission also has a dedicated phone lines to assist people with their visa issues and any other queries.
The island-wide curfew was temporarily lifted in 21 districts this morning and was reimposed at 8 p.m. Following this measure taken by the government, the police once again urged the public to adhere to laws and safety protocols and warned that non-adherence will not be tolerated and legal action will be taken against offenders.
The island-wide curfew was temporarily lifted at 5 a.m. today in districts except Colombo, KALUTARA, GAMPAHA and PUTTALAM, providing a window of 15 hours for the people to engage in their day-to-day activities. Following the lifting of the curfew, our correspondents noticed a marked reduction in people frequenting towns. Though the curfew was relaxed for 15 hours, the Traders Association of the districts Anuradhapura, Monaragala and Vaunia have taken measures in order to keep most of the shops in the towns closed. Last week, the government announced a roster system that allowed people to leave home based on the last digit of their national identity card. With that being the case, it was seen how people had regardless moved about without taking the roster into consideration. With the government urging the people to adhere to safety protocols when using public transport, it was also observed how passengers at the Hatton bus stand ignored safety protocols. As Colombo, KALUTARA, PUTTALAM and GAMPAHA have been designated as high-risk zones, the curfew in those districts will remain in effect until 5 a.m. on the 4th of May. In order to maintain a distance between security forces and the public when checking curfew passes and identity cards at checkpoints, the police headquarters have urged the public to display IDs to the police without directly facing them. Furthermore, police once again requested the public to adhere to safety protocols during non-curfew hours.
ප්‍රධානම දේ තමයි අපි කියලා තියෙන්නේ මේ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයකින් තවත් දිස්ත්‍රික්කයකට යන්න බෑ කියන එක. මේක තමයි ස්ට්‍රික්ට් රූල් එක. ශ්‍රී ලාංකීය පුරවැසියෝ හරි විදේශිකයෝ හරි ඕනෑම කෙනෙකුට මේ රූල් එක මේ නීතිය බලපානවා. මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ දැන් මෙච්චර කාලයක් අපි අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්තේ ඇදිරි නීතිය කඩ කරා කියන අය. දැන් මේ වෙනකොට 41000ක් අත්අඩංගුවට අරන් තිනවා. වාහන 10500ක් විතර. හැබැයි දැන් අද දිනේ ඉඳලා අපි සිවිල් ඇඳුමිනුත් පොලිස් ප්‍රධාරීන් යොදලා තියෙනවා. මේ නිරෝධායන රීති වලට පටහැනිව ඇදිරි නීති ඉවත් කරපු ප්‍රදේශවල කටයුතු කරන අය. බස් එකක හරියට ඒ ප්‍රමාණය ගෙනියන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට නිරෝධායන රීතිය යටතේ කටයුතු කරන්න වෙනවා. දැන් ඇදිරි නීති ඉවත් කළා කියලා පොළගාව, කඩේගාව, කඩපිලේ කණ්ඩායම් හැටියට හැසිරෙනවා නම්, එකට ඉඳගෙන ඉන්නවා නම්, එකට කනවා බොනවා නම්, ඒ වගේම විවිධ උත්සව පවත්වන්න යනවා නම්, චාරිකා යන්න හදනවා නම්, ඒ ප්‍රදේශයේ කට්ටියත් එක්ක වාහන අරගෙන ත්‍රිරෝදවල 4-5 දෙනා යනවා නම් මේ හැම අවස්ථාවකදීම අපිට නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒක නිසා ඇදිරි නීති කාලය තුල විතරක් නෙමෙයි, දැන් ඇදිරි නීති ඉවත් කරපු කාලෙදිත් මේවට පටහැනිව කටයුතු කරන අය අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන අධිකාරියට ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට සිදු වෙනවා.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවල තේ අරගන්න.
වටවල තේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
Minister of Mahavali Agriculture, Irrigation and Rural Development Chamal Rajapaksa today said that the government has taken measures to lease out uncultivated land to farmers. The minister added that steps will be taken to ensure that all such resources of the country will be utilized to aid the country's food security, with an emphasis on the use of organic fertilizer.
Taking into consideration the increasing spread of the COVID-19 virus, the Petta Manning market closed on the 17th of April. However, due to the heavy demand from farmers and traders, the Manning Market Trade Association said that the Manning Market complex will be reopened for business activities. Accordingly, the Manning Market was disinfected today by the Ministry of Defence using a machine developed by Technology and Research Centre of the Ministry. Meanwhile, the Police Special Task Force disinfected office premises of the Postal Services yesterday, whilst the Halfsdorf Courts Complex, which is due to reopen on May 4th, was also disinfected yesterday. In the meantime, immunization for infants that have been delayed for 1.5 months due to the spread of the virus was carried out today at Ambelipitia Colonna Health Zone. Despite the government-announced program to distribute fertilizer with the aid of the army throughout the country, farmers in the Bibile area say that they were undergoing severe hardships due to not receiving the fertilizer. Several shops in Dehiyattakandiya were closed today following fears that naval personnel residing in the area had been infected with the COVID-19 virus. The Traders Association and the Godakavila Pradesh Sabha decided to discontinue trade activities at the Madampe fish market today due to traders and customers not abiding by health and safety precautions. In the meantime, the Postmasters Association says that the train service functioning in the areas where the curfew was lifted lacks a system of checks and balances to verify travellers' movements.
කිසිම ක්‍රියානුකූල ක්‍රමවේදයකින් තොරව තමයි දුම්රිය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මේ සඳහා වැඩපිළිවෙල යෝජනා කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ එන පුද්ගලයා සම්බන්ධයෙන් ලබා දෙන තොරතුරු සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසිදු නිවැරදි කිරීමක් කොහේම අවස්ථාවක කිසි කෙනෙකුට ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි යෝජනා කරේ දුම්රියට පැමිණෙන මගියෙක් දුම්රිය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව ලබා දෙන තොරතුරු මත ඒ මගියා විසින් කුරුණෑගල ඉඳලා කොළඹට එන්න මගියෙක් සිටිනවනේ. ඒ මගියා දුරකථනයෙන් මෙහෙයුම් මැදිරියක් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඒ මෙහෙයුම් මැදිරියට තමගේ තොරතුරු ලබා දෙන. ඒක අනුව අපිට පුළුවන් බලා ගන්න ලබා දීලා තොරතුරු මේ නිවැරදි තොරතුරුක්ද කියලා. ඒ පුද්ගලයාට අපි අදාළ දුම්රියේ ආසනයක් වෙන් කරලා ඒකට සම්බන්ධයෙන් එයාට නැවත යවනවා. ඒ කෙටි පණිවිඩයත් එක්ක තමයි මේ කියන පුද්ගලයා දුම්රියට එන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතරේ සාමාජිකාරීතුමත් අපිට මේ වැඩපිළිවෙල ඉස්සරහට කරගෙන යන්නේ කියලා සියලුම අනුමැතිය ලබා දුන්නා. නමුත් අද වෙනකන් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව නිල වශයෙන් මේ කාරණේ ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියලා මේක සම්පූර්ණ කරන්න කිසිදු උත්සාහයක යෙදෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Minister of Mahaweli Agriculture, Irrigation and Rural Development Chamal Rajapaksa says that the government has taken measures to lease the state's existing uncultivated land to the young farmer community and make maximum use of the resources available in the country with the objective of increasing the use of organic fertilizer. The minister made these comments while participating at a review meeting of the National Food Production Programme. The meeting took place at Temple Trees today with the participation of all district secretaries, provincial agriculture and other officials. The minister also called upon all Sri Lankans to join in making the Saubhagya National Food Production Programme a success. An intensive care unit and a molecular biology laboratory was opened today at the National Institute of Infectious Diseases with the Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe presiding over the ceremony. Meanwhile, a group of people in the Ulkatupota Grama Seva division in Hinguraggoda alleged that they have been denied the one-time government allowance of Rs 5,000 as a result of the influence of a local politician. A total of 98 residents of the Grama Seva division have not received the government grant.
The Government of India donated a stock of essential medical equipment to aid the country in its battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier on this month, India donated a 13-ton consignment of essential medicines to the government of Sri Lanka. Earlier during the SAARC leaders' video conference, it was stated that India would offer online training capsules for the emergency response teams of neighbouring countries to assist them in their efforts in dealing with COVID-19. AdaDerana continues to provide relief and aid to the people facing hardships due to the global coronavirus pandemic situation. Accordingly, AdaDerana took the initiative in providing the Sri Lanka Navy with personal protective equipment today to aid their efforts in combating the COVID-19 virus.
AdaDerana took steps to donate personal protective equipment to aid the Navy personnel in their operations to combat the COVID-19 virus. Chairman of the Derana Media Network, Dilip Jayavira, today handed over the first batch of equipment to the Navy commander.
The generous support extended by AdaDerana by donating personal protective equipment at this crucial juncture is highly appreciated. And on behalf of the entire Navy, I express my gratitude to Derana. Thank you very much.
The recent request by the opposition to the President to reconvene Parliament was rejected today by government representatives. Many opinions were expressed on the subject throughout the day today.
දැන් විපක්ෂයේ අපි දැක්ක ඒකාබද්ධ ප්‍රකාශයක් ඊයේ නිකුත් කළා තිබුණා. එහි පවා සඳහන් වෙන්නේ ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම व्यवस्थාවේ 77 වගන්ති යටතේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නැවත කැඳවන්නයි කියන කාරණේ. 77 කියවෙන්නේ අවසාන වශයෙන් ගන්නකොට සේ කැඳවුම් ලැබූ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව යම් ආකාරයක කැඳවුවොත් හදිසි අවස්ථාව අවසන් වීම හෝ මහමැතිවරණයේ අවසන් වීම යන දෙකින් කලින් ලැබෙන අවස්ථාවේදී විසරෙන්නේ. මේ ඇඳිරි නීතිය පනවලා තියෙන නිරෝධායන පනතේ වගන්ති සහ වෙනත් අනුශාංගික නීති ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම තුලින්. ඒ නිසා 77 වගන්තිය අදාළ කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ.
මම ආණ්ඩුවටන කියන්නේ මේවලා මෙතනට යන්නම එපා. මෙතනට කිව්වොත් ඡන්ද දාන්න යන්නේ. මොකද മന്ത്രിවරට කියලා බැස්සිමත් යන්න බෑ, කාඩ් බැඳින්න බෑ, ඒවල වලට යන්න බෑ. ඉතින් කොහොමද මෙතනට යන්නේ? ඒක නිසා ආණ්ඩුවට ඕන කොහොමරි මේක මිනිසු මෙරුවත් කමන්නේ මේ මෙතනට යන්න ඕන.
දැන් මැතිවරණේ තියනවද නැද්ද කියන එක හොඳම දේ තමයි ආණ්ඩුවක් විදිහට අපි ඒක ගැන කතා කරනවට වඩා ඒක සෞඛ්‍ය අංශ වලටයි මැතිවරණ කොමිසමටයි බාර දෙන එක. ඒ වගකීම තියෙන එතනටනේ. මැතිවරණ කොමිසම කිසි ලෙසකින්වත් සෞඛ්‍ය අංශ කියන දෙයට පිටින් මේ වැඩේ කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා අපි ඒකට ඇඟිලි ගහන්න ඕනේ නැහැ.
මැතිවරණ කොමිසම තීරණය කරලා තිබෙනවා මැතිවරණයක් පවත්වන්න. නමුත් ඊට වඩා බරපතලව මිනිස් ජීවිතයේ ආරක්ෂාව, මිනිස් ජීවිත පවත්වාගෙන යාම පිළිබඳ අතිගරු ජනාධිපති ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා ගත්ත පියවරට, ගත් වැඩපිළිවෙලට ඔය ලියුම් යවන කොමලා ඇවිල්ලා ප්‍රශංසා කළා, ස්තුති කරා.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා හිටපු අගමැතිතුමා රජයට ලිපියක් යවමින් කියා සිටියේ මේ වෙලාවේ ගත යුතු ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැන. මම හිතනවා රජය ඒ ගැන අවධානය යොමු කළා නම් ඉතා වැදගත්. සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අපේ ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව අනුව මූල්‍ය වගකීම පාර්ලිමේන්තුව සතු.
ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ ඇති විධිවිධාන ප්‍රකාරව පාර්ලිමේන්තු විසිර හැරීමෙන් පසුව විධායක ජනාධිපතිවරයාට සියලුම මූල්‍ය බලතල ලැබෙනවා. මේ බලතල මැතිවරණය පවත්වන තෙක් පමණක් නෙවෙයි මැතිවරණය පවත්වලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් හැඳවලා මාස 3ක් යනකම් අයවැයක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන තෙක් එම මූල්‍ය බලතල සියල්ලම ජනාධිපතිවරයාට ව්‍යවස්ථානුකූලව ලැබිලා තිබෙනවා.
මේ මැතිවරණය නොපැවැත්වුවා කියලා අපිට කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මොකද මේ මොහොතේ බලයේ ඉන්නේ අපි. ආණ්ඩුව අපේ, ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපේ, අගමැතිතුමා අපේ, ඇමති මණ්ඩලය අපේ. ඒ වගේම මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වුවොත් අනිවාර්යෙන් දිනන්නෙත් අපි. එහෙමනම් මැතිවරණය මේ කඩිමුඩියේ වසංගතය මැද පවත්වන්න අපි හදිසි වීමට අපිට තියෙන උවමනාව මොකක්ද කියලා අපි විපක්ෂයෙන් ප්‍රශ්න කරනවා.
A delegation consisting of members of the opposition met with Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jayasinghe today for a discussion on how the opposition could assess the COVID-19 fight.
Dr. Anil Jayasinghe මැතිතුමා අද නිල වශයෙන් හම්බුණා. අප ඇහුව එක දේ තමයි කොහොමද අපි විපක්ෂයක් වශයෙන් කොහොමද රටට මේ කොරෝනා වෛරසය නැති කරන්න කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපි යම් විදියකින් ඇහුවා කොතරම් සාධාරණ කාලයක් ඒකට අවංක උත්තරයක් දෙන්න බැහැ කියලා අපිට දුන්නේ. ඒක අපි අගය කරනවා. අර්ජුනත් දයාත් ආශුවරන්සිංහත් මමත් අගමැතිතුමාත් නවීන තාක්ෂණයෙන් ඒ රැස්වීමට එකතු වුණා.
We'll return after this short commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back in your business news. The central bank has announced another relief measure targeting low-income groups who rely heavily on gold pawning to tide them through financial crisis. The bank ordered licensed banks to drop their maximum interest rates on pawning advances to 12%.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has imposed a maximum interest rate on pawning advances from licensed banks. Having observed that current interest rates charged by licensed banks on pawning advances range from 12 to 17.5% per annum, the Monetary Authority has decided to cap the maximum interest rate for gold advances at 12%. This move comes as a further measure to provide relief to low-income groups who rely on pawning of gold jewellery to tide them over during urgent short-term financial crises. Accordingly, an order under the Monetary Law Act was issued to licensed banks requiring to fix the maximum rate of interest chargeable by them on money lent on the security of personal articles of gold to be 12% per annum or 1% per month if the pawning period is less than 1 year. This order came into effect from yesterday, the 27th of April 2020. This maximum interest rate will be applicable for all new pawning advances and existing pawning facilities that are due for renewal commencing the date of the order. Further, it is expected that other institutions involved in pawning activities would also offer a lower interest rate to enable their customers to obtain urgent finance at affordable costs.
Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka presented a copy of its 70th annual report to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in his official capacity as Minister of Finance today. Central Bank Governor Professor W.D. Lakshman participated in the ceremony. The annual report for 2019 provides an in-depth look at the country's economic development in the year and also provides a forecast for the current year 2020. According to the report, Sri Lanka's economy grew 2.3% in 2019 and is expected to grow 1.5% in 2020. Annual average inflation has been recorded at 4.3% in 2019, while foreign reserves of $7.6 billion and a balance payments surplus of $377 million have also been reported. Moody's rating says that Sri Lanka's banks will come under immense pressure from virus-hit businesses and warns of the country's operating environment deteriorating with GDP declining due to the virus effect on the tourism and ready-made garment industries. The agency says that the government's loan moratorium may provide only temporary relief but raise risks for banks in the long term if the pandemic situation continues for a prolonged period.
Ratings agency Moody's says that Sri Lanka's banking system will be under pressure from weakening coronavirus-hit businesses, while predicting that the government's ability to provide support to the sector could also reduce due to rising debt and losses at state enterprises. In terms of the key drivers for its negative outlook, the agency says that the country's operating environment will deteriorate, with GDP declining due to the virus effect on the tourism and ready-made garment industries, along with added pressure from reduced domestic economic activity due to the lockdown. The report also says that sharp currency depreciation and capital outflows could be expected, given the country's twin deficits and reliance on external debt. Asset risks too are deteriorating, the report adds, warning that small and medium enterprises will be particularly vulnerable in this situation due to weak liquidity tendencies. The agency says that the government's loan moratorium may provide only temporary relief, but raise risk for banks in the long term if the pandemic situation continues for a prolonged period. However, the report puts Sri Lanka's capital at stable due to weak credit demand, offsetting the lack of internal capital generation, while regulatory capital ratios staying above minimum requirements will act as a buffer against unexpected losses. In terms of profitability and efficiency, the report also predicts a decline in net interest margins due to regulatory reductions, slower loan growth, and an increase in loans restructured due to the government's moratoriums. Further, it predicts a deterioration in asset quality, which will lead to increases in credit costs, while adding that a reduction in income and other taxes may provide some relief. In the meantime, funding and liquidity will remain stable as deposit growth keeps pace with loan growth as credit demand weakens. The report also warns that government debt burdens will increase as a result of tightening financial conditions and weak economic growth.
Oil prices fell significantly yesterday, with the US benchmark down nearly 25% amid fears over growing scarcity of oil storage space, with the West Texas Intermediate for June delivery shed $4.16 or 24.56% to settle at $12.78 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Prices traded as low as $11.88 earlier in the session. Brent crude for June delivery dropped to $1.45 or 6.76% to close at $19.99 a barrel on the London ICE Futures Exchange. Risks on the demand side amid the COVID-19 pandemic fallout have reignited fears over availability of storage capacities, experts noted. Yesterday's heavy losses followed extreme volatility on the oil markets in the prior week. Despite a period of stabilization they have been enjoying since mid last week, US oil prices posted a record week loss of 32.3% based on the June contract. It is the biggest weekly percentage loss on record according to Dow Jones market data. June Brent declined 23.6% for the week ending Friday. Some Asian shares and US stock futures dipped into the red today, erasing earlier gains as a renewed decline in oil prices overshadowed optimism about the easing of coronavirus-related restrictions seen globally. Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 opened down 0.04%, while South Korean shares fell on Tuesday as Wall Street gains were offset by heightened concerns. The coronavirus crisis will wreak more havoc on Asia's fourth largest economy in the next quarter. The Seoul stock market's main KOSPI was down 4.24% or 0.22% rather at 1,918.53. The index has fallen 12.7% so far this year. Hong Kong stocks opened higher, with the benchmark Hang Seng Index rising 0.50%. The Shanghai Composite Index started roughly flat, rising 4.50 points to 2,819.99 points. More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In your international news, Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said that the coronavirus pandemic is far from over at a time when most countries have taken steps to resume their day-to-day activities after lifting lockdown restrictions. The WHO also stated that protecting the public from a second wave can only be done with the collective contribution of the people and the government authorities.
According to an analysis of federal data conducted by a research team led by the Yale School of Public Health, the United States recorded an estimated 15,400 excess deaths, nearly 2 times as many as were publicly attributed to COVID-19 at the time in the early weeks of the coronavirus epidemic. The excess deaths, a number beyond what would normally be expected for that time of year, occurred during March and through April 4th, a time when 8,128 coronavirus deaths were reported. The excess deaths are not necessarily attributable directly to the coronavirus. They could include people who died because of the epidemic, but not from the disease, such as those who were afraid to seek medical treatment for unrelated illnesses, as well as some number of deaths that are part of the ordinary variation in the death rate. The count is also affected by increases or decreases in other categories of deaths, such as suicides, homicides, and motor vehicle accidents. The analysis calculates excess deaths by using a model to estimate how many people probably would have died absent the pandemic, and then subtracting that number from the overall deaths reported by the NCHS. The US still remains as the most affected country from the virus. In New Zealand, residents returned to their normal lifestyles today after being freed from a month-long lockdown, which Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern credited with eliminating domestic transmission of the virus. Around 400,000 people returned to work after Ardern shifted the country's alert level down a notch, loosening some of the tough movement restrictions that shut down businesses for weeks. Long queues of cars snaked out of McDonald's outlets in Auckland from the early hours as people sought a fast food fix as Dunedin surfers returned to soak in the saltwater waves. In another development, more than 500 garment factories in Bangladesh that supply to global brands also reopened yesterday after a month-long shutdown to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Clothing manufacturers in Bangladesh's capital Dhaka and the port city of Chittagong have been permitted to resume work. In the meantime, Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, stated that the coronavirus pandemic is far from over.
As lockdowns in Europe is with declining numbers of new cases, we continue to urge countries to find, isolate, test, and treat all cases and trace every contact to ensure these declining trends continue. But the pandemic is far from over. I repeat, the pandemic is far from over.
The WHO Director General also touched on the second wave of the virus.
Second wave, as Mike said, is in our hands. If we implement the right intervention, we can prevent it from happening. But when we do this, not just the national interventions, having the regional and also coherence in the global interventions and global solidarity is very important.
French scientists are to test nicotine patches on coronavirus patients and health workers after research suggested nicotine may offer some protection against infection by the disease. Researchers in Paris said that their research showed that smokers were less infected with the virus than other people and that nicotine could prevent the virus from entering cells.
Kim Jong-un may have missed a key holiday on April 15th because of concerns over the coronavirus, not because he's ill, South Korea's Minister for North Korean Affairs said today. North Korean leader Kim's absence from public ceremonies on the birth anniversary of his grandfather and founder of the country, Kim Il-sung, was unprecedented, and he has not been seen in public since. That has led to days of speculation over his health. North Korea has said it has not confirmed cases of no confirmed cases of coronavirus, but given the fact that the country has taken stringent steps to head off an outbreak, Kim's absence from the ceremonies is not particularly unusual, Unification Minister Kim Yon-chul, who oversees North Korea's engagement, told lawmakers. He said there were at least 2 instances since mid-January where Kim Jong-un was out of sight for nearly 20 days. In your sports news, with the coronavirus pandemic having wiped out the global tennis schedule until at least mid-July, the hole in the calendar is this week being filled with Madrid's virtual event. 16 men and 16 women are battling it out on a Manolo Santana stadium that has been recreated in exquisite detail in the Tennis World Tour video game designed by Nakon Game. Andy Murray got off to a good start at the virtual Madrid Open charity tennis event with a 3-1 win over Benoit Paire in Group 1 play. Things did not start off as well for Germany's Angelique Kerber, who lost to Kiki Bertens in their opener. Stefanos Tsitsipas, meanwhile, opened with a 3-0 win over Fabio Fognini. The two top players from each group of 4 will advance following a round robin. Both the men's and women's winners will be awarded 150,000 euros, of which they can choose to donate as much as they'd like to tennis peers struggling financially with the tour on standstill. An additional 50,000 euros will be donated to the Madrid Food Bank. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Good night.